Welcome to the Beyond the Sidelines podcast. This is our first episode. My name is Campbell. We've got Gussie over there. Give us a wave.
Hello, everyone. I'm giving you a wave, even though we're on a podcast. That's
Can
all right.
confirm, yeah. For all the viewers at home, everyone who could see that. For all the listeners, he's giving us a wave. Can confirm.
Yep.
Hey guys, I'm Finn. Can confirm he is waving. Don't really know why, but he is.
That's Finn. We were speaking earlier. For the GPS rugby round 2, we've had a pretty surprising week. Not necessarily by the winners and losers, but by the scorelines more than anything. What do you reckon, boys?
Well, I think the contenders really stepped up this week.
Certainly.
And blew the arguably lesser teams off the park.
Definitely. It puts more margin between the lesser and the better, I guess.
Yep.
Which is really important at this stage of the season, especially getting some good wins under the belt.
Oh, exactly. Well, yeah, you can tell clearly tell already what sides are going to be there at the end.
Yeah.
Well, I think
it was pretty evident this week.
We knew coming into the season that BBC, Nudgee, Southport, and Ippy, they were going to be the big four.
Yeah. Ippy's been a bit of a surprise for me. I didn't think they'd be this good. They've been pretty good.
Just a big team.
Big team.
Massive.
Big team. Big old prop. But also, the O'Callaghan Cup was really interesting. Really great game.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch much of it?
Yeah, Downland snatched it late.
Yeah.
They did.
What a
I
play!
wasn't
What a
expecting-
play at the end there. Did you see that try at the end?
Yeah,
Wow,
great stuff.
Fantastic. And
Wow.
I didn't expect it because I was looking through the double take games and I was like, oh, okay, there's this game, and I was like, oh, interesting. They're covering the Downlands TGS game.
Yeah.
Chucked it on. They've got the commentary on for it. It was such a great turnout too. But I really enjoyed the game.
Well, yeah,
some great plays.
You'd have a bit of a rivalry there, yeah.
You would do. I
Toowoomba
haven't
and
thought about
Downlands,
about it a bit, but I haven't thought about it.
I think
Much
for
as that.
us being BBC old boys, Angus and I, and you being a BGS old boy,
Yes.
Downlands was more of a bye week.
It was.
Exactly,
They played
yeah.
on
I think
the bye week.
That's the country rivalry game.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And I think it's almost like a game where both teams have been discarded at some point. Everyone is kind of like, got to go out to bloody Ipswich.
Yep.
Oh, we're playing Downlands in the bye game. And they always have to travel here. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good
Exactly,
time.
yeah.
It's a good opportunity for them to play an in-town rival and show who's the best. And I'm sure Downlands are trying to put their case forward to be a GPS school.
Hasn't happened yet, unfortunately, but
No.
maybe this result might push them
the
a long way.
Yeah, because the argument's always been they can't stand up.
Yeah.
In GPS competitions.
But can they do that every week?
That's the problem. And is TGS much of a competition?
And Toowoomba's
Are they
not too
looking-
flash, I
they're
don't
not
think.
too flash.
They beat Terrace in the first round, but
Terrace are a
That's
good
pretty
team.
Terrace
They,
aren't bad. They
um,
kind of held their own
They're
against.
0-2. They're 0-2, but you know, expect a few surprises from them this year.
Yeah, they're not doing too badly. I mean, you see, they lost by what was it, 16 points or like not even 14 points?
31-17.
That's not that bad. That's
Yeah.
2 tries in it, basically.
I'll tell you what, though, lads, that was last week.
That was
We've
last
got
week.
big games coming up tomorrow.
We certainly do. We also had good rounds in the NEFL Cup this round.
Yep.
We've seen Brizzy Lions, our home team. They're going undefeated, which is fantastic, especially seeing how the senior boys are doing as well in the AFL.
Yep.
We saw a tough loss for Aspley Hornets against UNSW, which is, I'm sure that's not what they wanted.
No.
Especially when they're making a bid to be at the top there.
But I'll tell you what, let's just backtrack a little bit there, mate. Brisbane Lions.
Brisbane Lions. How
Great
about
stuff to
How
see.
bloody about
AFL back in full swing
I
in
know.
Queensland.
I know, and
It's quite crazy, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I'm going to the game on the weekend. Doggies
Yeah.
versus
The Doggies?
Lions, because I'm a Doggies boy. But, you know, you've always got a little bit of... You're always supporting the Lions. They're the underdog all the
exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And apart from when they did the three-peat and whatnot. But it's been so crap for years.
Yeah.
It's been tough. You know, you've had to stick by them in recent years because
I don't think Brisbane
I
has.
don't think have. I
Yeah.
don't
Really?
yeah.
I think everyone's going to turn their backs on the Lions, but tell you what, with how they've performed this year, and you know, like you said, the NEFL side being undefeated, great
Bodes well.
great things ahead.
Bodes well. And you can argue about the NEFL competition maybe not being as good.
It's not as good.
It's definitely not as good as the VFL.
No.
That's for sure. But it is still good
It's
signs.
a great comp.
It is a great comp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Especially when you see where the Gold Coast Suns are. I mean, they had a great win actually on the weekend. They burst GWS, which are their senior boys are fantastic.
Yep.
They've got a lot of great young talent.
Yeah.
They opened the clubs at about the same time. But we see Gold Coast 128, GWS Giants 43.
But I tell you what, if
Wow.
we started talking about the
big win.
issues of Gold
the
Coast
Gold
sport.
Coast. I know.
We'd be here all day.
Would be here all
honestly.
day, so we can't do that
a lot
to
of
you
their,
guys.
A lot of their local clubs in the QAFL, like in QFL, they do fantastically.
They
Like
do.
they make up a large majority of the teams, and they do well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
that's
big difference
weird.
though between that and the
And
professional game,
professional,
and
that's
for sure.
unfortunately, the Gold Coast has just not performed
That's
in
a
anything
story.
this year.
That's a
don't-
story for another day.
Yeah,
I
that
don't-
is
I
exactly.
don't think we have the
yeah.
time for that today. But
Definitely
there is
not,
a lot
definitely
of
not.
Lot more to
Yeah.
come on that one.
Certainly
more to
not.
come.
Certainly not. Do we have any QRL action?
QR.
So yeah, well, in the rugby league, well, we had quite an amazing round 19. I'd have to say one of the better ones.
Certainly.
Special game to possibly what that I watched was the Melbourne Storm Manly Seagulls game. That one was just unbelievable. I don't know if
the
any of
NRL.
you boys saw
Yeah.
it, but that game was just unbelievable.
Mm.
Went to Golden Point. Of course, they made it all the way to the second half of Golden Point.
A minute to go.
Couple minutes to go. I think
Yeah.
both sides hit the post
No.
on a field goal,
Jeez.
field goal attempt, and Daly Cherry Evans, clutch moment. Kicks one with a minute left.
Bloody hell.
Gives Manly a massive win in this
Good.
season.
They need it. It's the right time.
They-
to
yeah,
see it,
oh,
right time as
exactly.
well.
Yeah, coming up to finals.
Well,
I
Gussie-
think they'll be there in the end.
Gussie, I'll ask you this, mate. During the week, there's been media coverage talking about Golden Point. Again, it's
Mm.
talked about every year,
Oh, exactly.
mostly as a negative, but calls for the golden try.
Yeah. Mm.
Is that something we need? Because we saw it a few weeks ago in Broncos versus Warriors
Yeah.
at
Mhm.
Suncorp. I think there was six missed field goals in that game. Similar story last weekend. Is a golden try a way to kind of keep rugby league exciting?
Hmm.
Well, you'd think a try would be harder to come by than a
It would be.
field goal,
It
wouldn't
is.
It would be. It would take
S-
longer. But,
but-
could you do it where you remove a player every 2 minutes?
Have a variation, because
Have a variation
what's
where it
more
speeds
rugby,
it up.
what's
and
more
more
rugby
interesting?
league? Going for the try, or a field goal fest.
I
That
mean,
doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not rugby league.
No doubt you'd prefer to see the golden try
Yeah.
method, but when you start complicating it and filling it up with all these different rules, so what you were saying, remove one player,
It gets
Yeah.
logistically tough.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it might get a bit difficult.
Mm.
I reckon the system at the moment's not too bad.
No.
I don't think it's too bad. I mean, that's the first draw we've seen
But-
in a long time.
But you play 80 minutes,
Yeah.
and then you lose because the other team gets the ball first, and
And-
they run down
yeah.
the field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
well,
slot one from 50. Like it happens.
it
And-
does, and it's tough when you lose them, but when you win, it's a pretty good feeling, especially in Golden
Certainly,
Point. And I don't
certainly.
think you need to change it.
No.
I think it's fine
Works?
as it is. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
you
works.
saw a good final in 2015. Was a similar scenario.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
Similar
Brilliant.
That was
scenario.
great.
Brilliant.
Grand final.
Yeah.
That's what rugby league is about. That's exactly, and I think Golden Point was brilliant in that game.
But even
Yeah,
still,
worked perfectly.
was that a poor end to a good final?
I think it was a good end.
No,
think
I mean,
it had drama.
obviously, I would have preferred Thurston to kick it from the sideline, but I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that he got a field goal on
Yeah.
Golden
It was a
Point
great. No, it was a great
still-
story for him. But I
Fantastic.
think
Oh, exactly.
like Ben Hunt, the Broncos, he did drop the kickoff,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
why North Queensland had the chance to
But
kick
that's
that
the
field goal.
drama of the game.
Yeah.
That's part of the game. It's the
That's true.
drama.
Yeah.
That's true.
Speaking of the Broncos, they've got quite a big game coming up this weekend against the Melbourne Storm,
It's the Storm.
who are, you'd have to say, the informed team in the competition right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
they are a great
with
team.
Cameron Smith just pulling the strings in that side, and players like Munster and Adokar just
Certainly.
I guess. Well, talking about Melbourne, we'll bring it back to the grassroots just a little bit. The Sunshine Coast, who are the feeder
oh, the
clubs
Falcons.
for-
Yeah,
Yeah.
Melbourne. How
Yeah.
great are
Mm.
they at the moment? They are just killing it in Q Cup.
They're for and against.
where
I
they're
don't
sitting.
think I've seen their for and against like that. I don't think
Yeah,
I've seen a
it
for and against like that ever.
To be 6
It is
points ahead
insane.
of second best.
It is insane.
It's insane. And they're winning
Wow.
games by
70
big margins.
points. Yeah.
Big margins.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
there's something about Melbourne, something about what they can do, the
They're
players
just
they develop,
insane.
man, it's great stuff.
And that's a story for another day. We're talking
is.
about
That is.
we're
Yeah.
talking about development clubs,
Yeah.
and we're talking about potential expansions. They could be up there.
That's true.
There's
Exactly.
been talk of Blackhawks. There's been talk of Redlands.
Yeah.
Dolphins. But Falcons could certainly be up there.
Yep.
Certainly be up there. Anyway, this week we had a sensational guest.
Oh, brilliant.
We had a sensational guest. Good old Fraser McReight, future Wallabies captain, probably.
That's a bit
Future-
of that's a lot of pressure.
no
on
pressure
him,
on
mate.
you, Fraser, but
Exactly.
there you go. Queensland Reds player
Yeah.
and brothers Prem grade player.
Yep.
Still don't know how we got him on, honestly. First
no
episode,
idea.
That's
I'm
a lot
shocked.
of confidence from
I
you,
mean,
Gussie. But
Yeah.
he was a great guy, wasn't he? Easy to talk
Fantastic.
to.
Oh, yeah.
Really good insight. So
Yeah. Hear what he
Yeah.
has to say here. So we've got Fraser McReight here, Queensland Reds player, under 20s Wallaby captain.
Yep.
Brothers. You playing Frengray Brothers, obviously?
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic.
future World Rugby Hall of Famer, but not too much pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah,
And
no pressure at all.
Most importantly, grammar old boy. So
Yeah.
of course.
exactly.
Well, I guess we are here at Brothers Rugby Club, and this is the place, like Campbell said, where Fraser plays his rugby. So I guess, Fraser, just the first question. How important has this club been for your development?
Yeah, it's been huge. I think we've been here since straight out of school, so 2017, and obviously had a first crack at first grade that year as well. And I was fortunate enough, when I was in grade 12 the year before, we actually won the premiership. So coming in here as a fresh face baby, as an 18-year-old, playing with some veterans of the game like Gendy and Teddy Postal and all these good players who just won a premiership the year before, they could pass on all this sort of experience and sort of tell me what to do, and sort of made me feel comfortable in the environment of playing against men.
And how important were those players to you?
Yeah.
Those veterans?
Yeah, they were really important. I think, it's quite different, playing, obviously, there's Colts 40, which is under 19s, and schoolboy 40. So when you come up against men, especially when you're 18, you haven't done it before, it can be quite daunting. And for myself, I didn't really know where I sat in terms of whether I could perform against those sort of blokes and that regularly. So they put heaps of confidence in me, and just really helped me around the park. And we did pretty well that year, and I was fortunate enough to keep my my consistency up, and I'm here now. So
And you would have gone from schoolboys rugby, obviously, straight to Prem, playing Colts as well. Obviously Australian schoolboys as well.
Yep.
How was that?
Well, it was a cool sort of progression. I think I know. So we kind of went through Queensland schoolboys, and then the first 15. We didn't really do too well, but that doesn't really
Set
matter.
the PILF record, correct?
Yeah.
Actually got beaten the year later.
Yeah,
so,
Hayden.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nah,
Of course, you were captain of the Australian schoolboys side.
Only
as
one
well.
test though. I was off the bench the last 3 games, but
I'm sure that was a great experience for you.
exactly.
As well.
I think just going around to New Zealand, Samoa, they were pretty cool places. You don't get to go, especially Samoa. You wouldn't really go there for a holiday. So going over there and going to Apia and just seeing sort of a different part of the world, which you get to do through 40, is pretty cool. And that sort of tournament sort of set me up for junior Wallabies success and brothers success. So it was
I guess just on that, junior Wallabies, this season, an amazing season for the junior Wallabies. How did you find all that? The World Cup, the Oceania Championships. What did you think of all that? Yeah,
it was awesome. I think obviously we did it last year.
Yep.
And it was a huge step up, obviously, because last year was kind of I had this year as well, so I knew I had another year in my back pocket, and maybe I didn't need to step up in terms of being a player or a leader around the dressing room. So it was just more of an experience thing. How can I perform? And I was lucky enough to get the under 20s player of the year, which I did not expect at all.
Really impressive there.
And then coming this year, I think we had 10 or 12 boys returning, which is huge for an under 20 tournament. So we had all this youth, all this experience, skillful players coming back. Our coaching staff were awesome. You couldn't say a bad thing about them. And it all just kind of molded in, and we had this sort of really cool culture in the team. And I've never been in a team that's that close and that driven to a goal, which was to win. And
so is that dressing room atmosphere? Is that what gave you the edge? Against teams like New Zealand?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think there's a point and line between being arrogant and then confident, I suppose. And we could say right before the New Zealand game, we knew we weren't going to lose.
Okay.
Good. And all through the tournament, I think we had the best forward pack. We absolutely destroyed teams, but and that showed when we played New Zealand. We kept them, I think, 24-0, and I don't think that's ever been done before. And it just shows that Australian rugby, junior pathways are working.
Do you reckon one day that's something you can replicate in the Wallaby side today?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, I reckon we can. It's just, I think it's more just about sort of getting the right people and right players there as well. And I think we're right on track. We've got some new staff there and old staff as well, new players, old players, and they're all trying to be the best. So I think if we keep pushing and keep consolidating on wins and even losses, we will get there in the end. And Australian rugby has been a pinnacle of Australian sport for a while, so that's the aim, just to get back up there.
For sure.
Exactly.
I guess. Oh, sorry, you go.
Well, how does when you're in different locker rooms, when you're in the Junior Wallabies locker room, and then you go to the Brothers locker room or the Reds locker room, how do you change as a player, or how is it different? So you're a leader in the Junior Wallabies, obviously. How do you change your leadership strategy?
That's a good question. It's different, I think. So obviously in Junior Wallabies, I knew I was captain and I had a definite leadership role, and obviously you got the captaincy issues. You go flip the coin, talk to the ref, and all that sort of stuff. But I think as an under-20, I also had a lot of good mates there that could help me out, and boys who were new, sort of maybe looked up to us. And I suppose at Brothers, I haven't really been that much of a leader. I'm more about just focusing on my actions rather than my words, which I was probably a lot more at the Wallabies. And then at the Reds, it's more just about listening and learning. I played 3 games this year, but it's more about just learning, consolidating, and getting better as a player and as a person.
Yeah. And your debut was against the Brumbies, correct?
Yep.
How was that?
It was awesome.
Debut for the Reds.
Yeah, it was so good. It was at home.
Yeah.
I was on the bench the first round of the year in New Zealand, and obviously didn't get on that round, and that was a sad moment. I look back on it, and I think things happened for a reason, and I'm very fortunate I didn't get on that game, because I got to do it in Suncorp, in front of my friends and family.
Yeah, exactly.
And we pumped the Brumbies.
Yeah,
at
that's
home,
brilliant.
so
Even better.
Yeah, it was an awesome day.
What was going through your head on the bench, awaiting to go onto the field? Were you nervous? Were you excited? What were you feeling?
Yeah, exactly. I was very excited.
Yeah.
As you are. I was very sweaty, because if you guys remember that day, it was, I think, on a Sunday afternoon. It was 36 degrees. It was really hot and humid. So yeah, that kind of made me, I think, a lot less nervous, because it's just, oh my god, it's hot. Take your mind off it a bit. But yeah, I knew us after our we put 2 or 3 trials on them, in 20 minutes to go. I think, oh, okay, my time now. I have to start switching on mentally, and luckily I got on. I think maybe 4-5 minutes, but doesn't matter. It's a debut, and I think that's a start, and obviously trying to build from there.
Yeah, definitely. How do you see yourself building from there, rolling the squad next year, going forward?
So obviously just next year I want to consolidate on what I've done this year in terms of playing a lot more game time for the Reds and being consistent across the board. So obviously we're there. Obviously we want to be the best. We have a great group coming through in terms of boys already there, and we've got some great new players there. James O'Connor's there. Rodder's already there. Liam Wright, Luke Kahn, all these great players and new guys pushing through. So hopefully, we just want to keep pushing that young.
Well, 2020, start of a new World Cup cycle. So do you see that as an opportunity to kind of break into the team a bit more consistently? Yeah,
I think it's all about just getting there and hard work and kind of showing you can do it at that level. So, like I said, I just want to consolidate. We got obviously come back, had very good year this year. I'm very happy with the year I've had, and hopefully next year can tick away at some more games and just show the coaches, show Thorny that I can perform at that level a lot more. So that's the end goal.
Yeah, some people have compared you to players like David Pocock. Do you have any players that you kind of base your game off, or want to try and play to be like these kind of players?
Aspire to their level.
Aspire to.
Well, I look at my game and I look at Poe's. Obviously we're a lot different. He's 50,000 better than I am, obviously. So I don't really. I always like George Smith. I think I'll have a good attacking game that suits my on ball style as well. And I like sort of the attack game of rugby. So I like to be base myself off George, but to be fair, not really anyone, I suppose. I kind of want to create my own path and
it's a good way to go about
differently.
it. And with the Reds, you've got a lot of GPS boys there, obviously. Brisbane GPS boys, players like Harry Hawkins and Wilso and stuff like that. How did they have an impact on you transitioning into the squad? And you're all helping each other, obviously, while competing. How does that help you in your development?
Yeah, well, boys like Harry, Josh Ness, Isaac Lucas, it was that Michael Wood, it was their first year as well, like especially doing the pre-season, and Wilso and Zaki were there all year. You know, and they're my age, and Wilso plays here. Like all of us are really good mates. So having them there, you didn't really feel like maybe you didn't belong or a bit of an outcast, because you had people your own age you could relate to them. And then, you know, like the Scott Youngs, Harry Hooperts, Hamishes, the Hockos, and all those sort of like the Wrongers, they're all 1 or 2 years above us anyway, so they know what it's like. They've been there, they've done it, so they're very, you know, comforting. They tell us what to, like, you know, help us where they can, and they're sort of, they're not that matriarch of the team who's telling us and being really bossy. They're just genuinely good people.
It really helps.
I think if we can change pace just a little bit, can you try and describe the pathway system from GPS to the pros?
Well, I think it's a bit different now, but obviously when I was going through, so you finish, so you have first 15, but before first 15, you had the schoolboy system, which was you played at Riverview, and there was Queensland 1, Queensland 2, and all that sort of stuff, and you played that the holidays before first 15, and then you get picked in like a Aussie Barbarians or Australian schoolboy team that you know toured. You play first 15, and then you sort of do that, and then I think during that stage there was the under 20s system, which was the Reds under 20s.
That was only introduced a few years ago.
So it only had 3 seasons or 4 seasons. Now it's gone, but that's what I had, and it was like an academy. So Thorny was the head coach of that, and that's where I first met, you know, Scott Young and Wrongers, and all those boys were there. So I knew them there as well. So that was that, and then you pretty much just played Colts footy. If you were good enough or got lucky enough, you played first grade, and then kind of filtered in, and NRC came, so you got opportunities to kind of play that next step up, and junior Wallabies, and then obviously again contract in the end.
But I guess the issue coming out of that is when you compare it to, say, rugby league. You know, rugby league has a more defined under 20s competition, or at least it did. So there are a lot more players getting poached from first 15 to rugby league. So would you say that Rugby Australia is almost lacking a pathway system, or it needs to develop it a bit more?
Maybe in the past, but I think now not really. I think they've developed the Fighting Fund, which is obviously identifying like key Australian talents in the game and locking them in for a while, which is awesome to see. You know, obviously it starts at top level, seeing us play well, it kind of filters down. But as you see, us junior Wallabies this year, we did the best we've ever done, and these are boys who've been with each other for the whole sort of time they've been playing rugby. So I think it sort of starts at once they get to the GPS level, you got to keep going through, and you know, Rugby Australia have identified players and they're locking them in early, which is good. So they know they're staying here, they're not getting poached by a league and having to worry about that. So they can just focus on playing good footy and then trying to make those rep teams and consolidating on that.
Because I guess sadly that's what we've seen probably too much of in the years gone by, right? We've seen too many first 15 superstars go to rugby league.
But it is also tough when, you know, league is have a lot more money to throw out, especially to the younger boys, you know. Well, you've seen that Sam Walker bloke who I think 16 or 17 signed.
He's already on 300k a year or something.
Which is
he 15?
He's 16, but he's signed on for when he turns 18, 17, 18.
You don't get that money in rugby union unless maybe 20.
But you've got guys like Kalen Ponga who have been playing rugby league for a couple of years, like professionally, and he's on 700,000 a year.
I think you're always going to see those guys get offers. That's a reality. But it's about Rugby Australia developing their pathways and, like you said, identifying those players earlier.
100%. And I think it's really good now. What we have is we did have a like I said before, that under 20 program, and then from that normally the Australian under 20 team got picked, and that was at the start of the year when you only played 4 or 5 games. But now what they've done, so after all the club season, there's an under 19, sort of basing
the NRC
off. So it's sort of basing it off the Mitre 10, but for for juniors. So in New Zealand, I think they have like under 19 Mitre Cup.
Yeah, they do.
So now we have an under 19 NRC. So it's during the same sort of period after club. That gets picked on club form. And you see a lot of good club players now getting picked up who never made Australian schoolboys, didn't make maybe rep teams, but they're just having fun and playing the best sort of footy at club level, and they're getting picked. And they go down there, play really well, and then sort of a wider training squad gets picked for junior Wallabies, and which is awesome to see.
It's a professional atmosphere, which these players have to be exposed to from a young age. So that's great stuff.
Certainly. And, you know, going from, we've seen players like Kalen Ponga and Tom Gilbert. You've obviously played with Gilbert. All these players go up to the professional levels of league. Well, Gilbert not yet, but probably soon.
Don't put pressure on him.
Yeah, well, no pressure. Do you think that affects your junior Wallaby side, or do you think it, because you guys have been together for so long, playing together, do you think it doesn't really matter
In terms of
losing the talents of, say, Kalen Ponga to league and stuff like that?
you know, they're always good players to have if you had them. You know, I think Kalen's obviously a generational player. He got offers. He was just a natural freak at every sport. So golf
AFL.
and
He's a golfer as well.
all that sort of stuff. But if you look at the team that we had this year at Junior Wallabies, a lot of us, especially in the Queenslander section, we've been playing with each other against each other for ages. First 15 level, even before that.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing in Sydney. They're playing with each other, against each other, all playing at clubs.
Yeah.
So it's more about, I suppose, learning players and learning who you're comfortable with and sort of getting combinations.
Yeah,
And then
building
obviously
those
building on that
combinations
and
over time,
getting the right coaches there and right people around you to make you prosper in a good team environment.
And we've seen the Wallabies, senior Wallabies, struggle a bit recently over the past few years. Obviously, you guys coming so close to winning the championship, obviously that bodes well for the future. How do you see it going forward, next World Cup after that? How do you see things going? Obviously, it's hard to tell. You can't look into a crystal ball.
Yeah.
But how do you see that going?
Yeah, it is tough. You don't really know what's going to happen. You know, the Six Nations, you know, Ireland, all those sort of countries are playing really well and they're starting to develop their footy. So it's very important, especially for Australia. I think maybe rugby sits at maybe the 4th or 5th code now, which is tough when you have AFL, NRL, cricket, and soccer, where we, I think we're 4th. But so I like to think, and from the junior Wallaby success and all the junior pathways coming through, and the people involved, I think the next World Cup after that, we're going to be very successful. You know, Australians prove that we actually are very good at World Cups. I think before Czech came in at 2015, I know we weren't doing that great, and he came in, turned us around in 6 months, and then we came second. So, I know. I think looking into the future, you know, it's very bright in Australian rugby.
And
I think so too. Yeah.
I don't want to cast your mind back to it too much, but that final, how was the day before, the night before? How are you feeling?
It was awesome. I think. We couldn't believe it. I think the amount of support we got from back home was unreal. I think, you know, we had all these ex-Australian players, all these current Super Rugby Wallaby players reach out to us, and you know the media got around us a lot. And you know, going over there, we did not expect that, and it's great to see for the things that were happening in Australian rugby and the media, and that, you know, it was good. It was a good news story.
For sure. Yeah,
so I think it was awesome to be part of, and you know, to captain, it was pretty cool.
And after the final, how are you feeling?
Oh, gutted, obviously. I think you know, to go down in the final by a point is pretty tough.
Yeah,
the worst.
But you know, credit to French, they played really well. We knew our strengths, and our strengths were a dominant forward pack. If they tried to do us through the middle, they weren't going to compete with us. But
of course, Finn was very disappointed because New Zealand came 7th that World Cup. Were you expecting New Zealand to do? I wouldn't say that badly, but I would have expected them to do a lot better. Were you expecting them to be one of your main competitors?
Well, it's if you look, it's funny. Like, so the last games of the pools really determined the final four. So we were locked in.
Is it 3 pools?
So there's 3 pools of 4.
Yep.
And then pretty much there's the winner of each pool, and there's a wild card. So we were locked in already. France played Argentina.
Yep.
So France won, they were automatically through. And then South Africa played New Zealand, and whoever won that would go, and the wild card would go through, right? But Argentina upset France. And so Argentina topped their pool, so they won. And South Africa and New Zealand were playing, and obviously South Africa won, but New Zealand, I think, had a 3-point to had a 3-point kick to go, miss it, something like that, and because they didn't get a bonus point, France actually came in as a wild card and came 4th, and then you know, it shows how much
tears building in your eye there, Finn.
I just really hope it doesn't happen later this year at the World Cup proper, I guess, or the Seniors World Cup.
But
it just shows you how close it actually is, and
it's great for rugby.
Like if you're an outside perspective looking at you know the table at the end of the game, you would have been so surprised because you know France came 4th, and they ended up winning it before they came into the finals.
Yeah, it's great to see that as well. You know, growing the game. You know, honestly, you wouldn't have thought France would be the one to take it out.
They're back-to-back champions now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, their juniors show a lot of promise
Exactly.
for what's to come for French rugby.
Certainly.
But I think that's the same for a lot of the other nations, like Australia,
Yeah.
but Ireland, England, plenty to come. So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. And we were talking earlier, trying to figure out where you played your junior rugby, and unsurprisingly, you can't actually find under 12s records because that's our glory days. Obviously, that's when we hit our peak.
That's when I stopped growing.
And you mentioned before that you came to Brothers straight out of school. So did you play your junior footy here
No,
as well?
I didn't.
Where'd you play your junior
So
footy?
I played junior footy when I was 5 at Albany Creek.
Ah.
Wow.
And we hated Brothers.
Oh.
Hated it, yep. And played there, honestly, for 10 years. And then, obviously, I just stopped when I was 15 because I was fortunate enough to play first 15 then.
Mhm.
Getting carved up 96-0. Yeah,
Ooh.
funny.
Yeah, great times.
Yeah,
Great
no,
times.
but yeah, so I played 10 years there. And I only really came to Brothers because my brother played here and
Mhm.
wanted to change up. And honestly, would not change a thing. Brothers
No.
is awesome. I love it. Love the people here.
Yep.
Culture's awesome. And I think it's the best club in Australia.
You weren't
Sure.
tempted to go anywhere else?
It was probably between West and Brothers.
The
in
new
the end.
the new stadium didn't get you.
Oh, nah. I don't know. To be fair, well, my brother had been playing it for a couple of years, and I think I don't know. I wanted to play with my brother back in the day, and whether I wanted to play a game for Prem grade with each other, but unfortunately he stopped sort of playing rugby. But yeah, that persuaded me. I don't think I could have gone to another club with him and my mum and dad gone for Brothers. So Brothers man all the way
Got
through.
to support the filth.
Yeah, have
Gotta
to.
support the filth. How do you find the relationship between the Reds and Brothers compared to other clubs?
In terms of the
Players and personnel, coaches, things like that.
Well,
the transition.
Like the step up is it a big
Oh
step
yeah,
up?
obviously it's a huge step up. I think we're lucky enough here at Brothers. We have a really good first Premier squad this year. I think we both first and second grade got minor premiers, so you get around a really good, talented side. We're well coached by Ryan Schultz and Rod Side. You know, we're doing really well. But obviously, you're in a super team. It's going to be a huge step up. So, you know, the trainings are very, very professional here. You know, they give you good skills, but obviously you're against a lot better players at Super Rugby, so it's a huge step up.
You touched on it before, but NRC's just around the corner.
Yep.
So how are you feeling about that? You think you're ready to go?
Yeah, it's good. So back with City this year. So that should be good fun. But to be fair, not really worried about NRC at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
Brothers finals coming up. Got the major this Sunday, and then
Sash Grove.
you know, and back into it there. So I want to get a job done here at Brothers first, and then sort of worry about that.
How are you thinking about this weekend? Do you reckon you're going to get the win?
You know, I think we are, but
Yeah.
it's going to be a tough game. I think we versed Jeeps twice this year and lost twice, and the last time we played them was only 2 weeks ago. So we're very fortunate enough that we didn't have the greatest performance there. We only lost by 7, but you know we're in a lucky position because we didn't play that well, but we knew we were playing them in 2 weeks. So we can sort of build on that and play with, and we get 2 chances of making the GF. So I know we'll do well and perform well.
So there's a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth of the team, obviously.
Yeah.
And
You
how
wanna
do you? How are you
get
going?
back in.
How's the vibe of the locker room going into this final series?
Yeah, it's still awesome. You know, we won on the weekend, and I think finals footy is completely different to round footy. So it's more about taking those points, taking little errors in the game. Like you might have a penalty to kick out for touch. If you don't kick it out and you know, they get it back, that's a small percent
Those
margin that you
1%ers,
might not get back. So that's
Yeah.
in finals. You got to build up on those and slowly build
Exactly.
pressure and get points from there. So you know, it'll be interesting, and I'm keen for the challenge. I know all the boys in the first and the whole club actually are very keen to get.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I'm sure you'll get a lot of people down here to watch it.
It's at Ballymore.
Yeah, it's at
Ballymore.
Ballymore. And it's
Ballymore.
actually the last Ballymore
of course,
finals before the redevelopment. So
Really?
So
Okay.
hopefully it's going to be a big couple of weeks.
There you go. We'll be there probably.
How do you think last week's game against East has prepped you guys for the finals? Because that was
Yeah, it was good.
a crazy
Yeah,
game.
it was,
so close.
So the last couple of weeks we've actually been blowing out. At half time, they've been putting 20 points on us, and then we have a fantastic second half. We're, I think, the most attacking, threatening team in the whole comp. So we know we can put up points, and we got real close to, I think, Union Jeeps, and that game just gave us confidence in terms of if we stick out the first 40 and we actually stay close, we're going to win the game. So that's awesome for us, and just to have a tough, gritty game that we end up winning is huge.
Well, Brothers, like you said, great attacking side, but Jeeps, they've conceded the least amount of points all season.
Yep.
So how do you try and exploit that, or how do you, what are their weaknesses?
Their weaknesses.
Do they have any?
Do they have any? Oh, that's probably not for me to say.
That's fair.
They're a great team.
The game plan.
We're not going to tell anyone.
No, they're a great team. So they're hunting for their third back-to-back grand final. They won last year. They won the Australian Championship started this year. So obviously they're great. The great side, got a lot of depth, well coached. So obviously they're gonna be a huge threat. But I think for us, if we play how we want to play, and we will win the game, and we have the players to do it. And I think it just shows we got to show the brothers' mentality, and I'm pumped.
Yeah,
I'm pumped.
Yeah, and you talk about the brothers' mentality. It's a great club, and can you explain to us what it's like on a game day here?
Yeah, on a game day, it's pretty cruisy, to be honest. So we played Jeep 2 weeks ago. So it was the twilight game. So game kicked off I think about 5:30. Packed. Old Boys Day was packed. About 6,000 people here I think. But you just come up, you just chill in the clubhouse over there, and you can just watch games of footy. So you watch Colts 1, third grade, and then as second grade kind of kicks off, you watch that, but you're kind of switching on, getting strapped.
What do you do to relax before a game? What do you do to get ready? Bit of music, or
bit of music, just chilling out. Pretty cruisy before a game, just chilling out, talking to my mates.
What are your go-to songs?
I don't really have any. I've got a playlist which is like has 2,000 songs, so I just hit shuffle and listen. So
So you're not overly superstitious.
No
Eminem. No.
I used to
lose yourself.
Like 12.
For sure, definitely.
Everyone did back
Check
then.
on some 8 Mile soundtrack.
Not anymore, luckily. But it's awesome. So just chill out and get ready.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I guess there we have it. Thank you very much, Fraser, for coming along.
Cheers, Fraser.
Really appreciate it. You've got plenty ahead of you. You and your sides, brothers, final series, Reds, obviously next season.
Jack Pack,
Yeah.
That didn't make sense.
Not at all.
Jack Pack.
We've got an explanation.
Jack Black.
Of what that actually
Jack
means.
Black.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Fraser.
No, it's all,
Best luck for it, mate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Wow,
Jack.
wasn't that just amazing?
Jack Pack.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain yourself, mate?
Jack Pack. Well, pretty much. I don't know how to speak under pressure, and embarrassed myself in front of the
That was pretty
future
Future Wallaby captain.
Wallaby captain. So
you made a variety of idiots.
not too much
mate.
pressure on Fraser.
no,
but
not at all.
No.
you've
I think
embarrassed
he-
yourself pretty.
Yeah, I think he
Big
thought
time,
I
mate.
was
Hey,
very funny.
happens on the big jobs, mate. Happens on the big jobs.
Jack
Anyway, Fraser was talking to us off air.
Off air.
Off air.
I thought it was really interesting, fellas, what he said about the NRC.
It was very interesting. Fill us in.
As you guys would have heard, he's playing for Brothers this weekend, but he's also preparing for the NRC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the moment, he's training at Ballymore in one big Queensland squad. But then in a few weeks, that squad's going to split into two for the rivals Queensland Country and Brisbane City.
Big game.
Have you ever heard of rivals
Training together. Surely
Yeah.
they get the same shapes and the same...
Yeah.
Like, what? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that would be confusing, wouldn't it?
But it's a great thing for the Reds.
Yeah,
Great thing
it's
for the Reds.
fantastic for the Reds.
Yeah.
And I guess it makes a cohesive unit for that Queensland selection,
Yeah.
for the Reds
And that's
selection.
probably the thought behind it.
Probably, because the match doesn't matter too much, really. It doesn't really matter
No.
who wins.
No.
It's an exhibition more than anything else.
No.
But
But yeah, so he'll be playing for Brothers
He
in
will
the
be.
major semi-final, Sunday
maybe
afternoon
semi-final, certainly.
against Jeeps. Now, Brothers haven't beaten Jeeps all season,
Mm-hmm.
but they did win the minor premiership, so there's plenty on the line in this game.
Certainly.
Exactly.
Bit of a
See
sour
what
taste in
happens.
the mouth,
See what
I
happens.
assume.
See
And-
how each team's finals form
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Following that game, East play UQ in the minor semi-final. Now, in that one, loser goes home. Winner plays the loser of the major semi-final. You might need to write that one down.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a bit of a
confusing.
mind map.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing, isn't
But
it?
some Inception kind of stuff.
Should all be
going
pretty
on there.
clear next week. But yeah, should be interesting. Great game of rugby this
For
weekend.
sure. We've also got a great game in the NEAFL. We've got
Yeah.
the GWS versus Sydney Swans in the NEAFL, so that's the twos. Interesting game, Sydney clash. GWS haven't had the best week last week.
Mate, they're
Probably
only,
should have won.
they're only 6 points out of from safety.
Yeah, they are, but they
Yeah.
had a big loss last week.
But
and
if you lose
against Suns,
If you lose
against
again,
the Suns, look where the Suns are.
if Canberra win,
Yeah,
that's pressure on the Giants.
it
Oh,
really
yeah.
is. There's lots of pressure, and they're playing Sydney Uni, so There's an 8-pointer there.
Yep.
Canberra Demons versus Sydney Swans. That is a massive game.
Massive game, yep.
That's really got some implications on finals. Brisbane Lions, killing it. We've got a few familiar faces. We've got Ethan Hunt in there, and we've also got Conrick Fadgen, who's a potential future guest of ours.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. But we've also got some stuff in the QFL, or QAFL, should I say. We've got a big game, which is Mount Gravatt Surfers. That's another potential 8-pointer with 5th and 3rd there. Should be a big game. There is a bit of a difference in the points total between them, but every point counts at this stage of the season. They're all kicking off at the same time. But we've also got some massive matches in the QRL.
We do. It's a very, very massive week in the QRL. We got some great games coming up. One to watch out for is probably the Townsville Blackhawks and PNG Hunters.
Certainly.
Although the PNG Hunters are probably going to miss the finals this year, you can definitely expect a lot of passion and aggression from those PNG Hunters players. And the Blackhawks aren't going to have it easy in this game.
No,
it's going to be a real test.
No.
Of course, we know a few people in that Blackhawks side. Of course, Tom Gilbert will be hopefully a future guest of ours. In the future.
Definitely. And his side, the Blackhawks, he's obviously signed on from the Cowboys, but the Blackhawks are trying to make that push, trying to stamp their authority on.
They'll want to get to that third spot.
Oh, yeah.
Currently
sitting in 4th.
Equal on points difference with winner Manly Sea Eagles.
Yeah.
But they're only 2 points behind. So a win this weekend, and should results go their way, they could claim that third spot by the end of round 19.
Of course, you got the Falcons and the Bears clearly out in front there, especially the Falcons, mate. They are unreal this year. Of course,
really are. They really
Storm feeder club, so you can understand why they're doing so well.
Certainly.
And in the NRL, we've got another great week of rugby league coming up. Of course, big one, I think, will be the Warriors and Raiders clash. Can the Warriors get into that top 8 without any
chin up champion?
Without any calls going against them?
That's not going to happen.
Any harsh calls? It's been a bit of a story this week about the Warriors.
It's pretty tough being a Warriors fan, Gussie.
Poor you, Kiwi, when you've won all the bloody All Blacks games.
He's not used to losing.
Because whenever we play, they've got 14 out. They've got 14 men out there on the field.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's 2 referees, 15.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Anyway,
moving on.
Move on quick, please.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a massive week in terms of the GPS as well. Yeah, Speaking of footy, change the codes, GPS.
Yeah.
We've got some massive games. We've got TGS trying to bounce back from a tough loss against Country Town rivals, Downlands. They're going to try and bounce back against Ippy. It's another country game, right? Country rival game. Can they bounce back? Ipswich have been playing well.
Mate, that front row, they've got to be prepared for a tough game. That front row is ginormous.
Look, Ippy are always physical. So I think
they've
Toowoomba,
got
to be ready to bring it.
They've got their work cut out for them.
They've got to be on point right from the start. They can't be lacking in physicality at the start of this game because Ipswich will come out firing. And once they get out to a lead, it's no stopping them. Honestly.
Southport and BBC, they're both trying to stamp their authority further on this competition.
We've got a battle of our alma maters. We've got boys with the BBC boys trying to make their stamp and push forward in the league, try and make some headroom between them and the people below them. And we've got my old school.
Struggling BGS.
BGS.
What can you say about BGS
excellent
right now?
Excellent school.
In terms of rugby.
They're a team very capable.
They
of
are
a few upsets.
very capable. And watch out for them in the next few seasons, that's for sure. They've got some good things ahead of them.
But boys, probably the biggest game of the GPS season.
Certainly. It's always the biggest. It's always the biggest for the players, always biggest for the fans. We've got the battle of the blue and white, boys.
Down at Ross Oval.
Yep. Oof. Expecting thousands to turn up there. It'll be a great game of rugby, and what a great atmosphere to play a game of rugby.
Not a better ground. Not a better ground.
But Ross Oval is unbelievable.
Don't forget, Nudgee lost round 1.
They did.
Yep.
Now, if you lose once in GPS, you're still in the title. Still in the title race.
Most of the time.
But you need to win every other game.
Yeah.
So if you win 2, if Terrace beat Nudgee this weekend, is that curtains for Nudgee this season?
You'd think so.
You'd think so for the premiership. They could still finish second, third.
But is that good enough for Nudgee?
it's always good enough. Whether it's good enough by their standards,
That's what I
who
mean.
knows? They want to win every year.
They set their standards quite high. I think
Rightly so.
they're definitely planning to win this week, and they don't want to lose another game this year.
No chance.
The fact that they lost to Southport, I think, is definitely bad for them.
It's just
but
two
I don't-
tough win
two
too.
great sides.
Such a tough
Yeah.
loss.
And again, it's only week 3.
Exactly.
There are still so many twists and turns ahead in this GPS
Exactly.
competition.
And we
Can't
look
wait.
forward to it.
Can't wait.
But on that one, we thank Fraser McReight.
Yep.
We've had a great first episode.
Oh, exactly.
Fantastic guest. Can't say enough nice things about him.
Great bloke.
Fantastic bloke. Make sure if you want to listen to it again, obviously you can.
As
You
many
can-
times as you like.
Exactly.
Except for the Empire. You don't have to listen to the Empire at all.
Jack back.
Jack Pack.
Jack back.
No. Okay. That was a mistake.
Was it? I thought you intended to do it.
Who intends to say Jack Pack?
What does that even mean?
Define it.
Okay, no.
What is the definition?
I was,
Jack pack, a verb.
I was meant to say chock-a-block or jam-packed.
Yeah, pick one.
So you went Jack pack.
So I
Merge
went.
the two.
Yeah, I went Jack Pack.
There it is.
Right. Chin up, butter.
On that note, boys, I think we'll call it there.
We will.
Yeah.
Make sure you tune into all of our social medias going forward. You can find us on Instagram at _BeyondTheSidelines_ You can find us on Facebook at Beyond the Sidelines and YouTube at Beyond the Sidelines. Make sure you tune into them. You can also find our podcast in video format on YouTube. And you can also obviously find it on Spotify if you're listening to it now. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Make sure you give it a rate as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you keep listening.
Cool.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. for
Awesome.
listening.
See you guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Piss off.
You still there?
Oh, you go outside. What are you
Outside.
doing?
Yeah,
Fucking-
stop listening. Okay, thanks for blowing out. See you guys.